Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. Did you get some weird check in the mail about the Apple device lawsuit? Well, I did, and several other million people did as well. And what I thought I would do in this video is explain what this check is all about, and also talk about why I don't think they executed the payments all that well. Let's get to it. Now, these checks look a bit scammy, but they're actually legitimate. And these came as the result of a $95 million settlement that was brought about as a class action lawsuit against Apple. And basically, the class action suit was about Apple Care replacement phones and iPads not being new. So as many of you know, if you have an Apple Care plan and you drop your phone, you can bring the phone in and get it replaced right on the spot for a small deductible. And the issues raised in this court case are that the phones that Apple was giving out as replacements were not new and of a lower quality than the phones that the customer had brought in initially. And that's the basis of all of this. And apparently they found a couple of people who were given a bad replacement, and that led to the lawsuit here and Apple paying out $95 million. Now, unfortunately, these are opt-out scenarios here as far as you being a member of the class. Now, I never received any notice in the mail like I was supposed to, or any email that was supposedly sent out. I didn't get. So the result is I didn't know about this lawsuit until the check showed up. And that's, I think, going to be the case for many people. And unfortunately, there's an opt-out deadline. And if you don't opt out by the deadline, you are now part of the class and restricted from ever suing Apple about this issue ever again. So if Apple gives you a lousy replacement under Apple Care, because you're a part of this class action suit, you can no longer sue them over this particular issue. Now, they have a website that documents everything involved with this lawsuit at replacementdevicelawsuit.com. And to their credit, they are very open about the whole thing. You can actually go through all the court documents and see all the back and forth between Apple and the attorneys who brought the suit. It was actually kind of an interesting read. What you'll also see in there is how this $95 million got distributed in the final order here that the judge signed not too long ago. And basically, the lawyers got $1.3 million in costs and then almost $27 million in attorney's fees. So they did pretty well here, and that's usually the case with these class action suits. Additionally, the two people they found to bring the lawsuit in the first place were given a bonus of $15,000 and $12,500. If I were them, I would have held out for more given what the attorneys brought in, but hey, you know, money's money. And I'll tell you what, I'm in the wrong line of work. If I can just go sue companies all day long and get off of YouTube, maybe I'll consider a career change here. It's worked out pretty good for them. I don't think they had to do all that much, although I'm sure they were probably deposed at some point. Again, they should have gotten more. Now, the issue, though, for those of us receiving checks is the fact that the names on these checks are, in many cases, wrong. So, for example, if you didn't notice it at the beginning, they put my name down as Alphonse Seidman. That is not my name. I have never gone under the name of Alphonse. My legal name is L-O-N, Lon, that's it. And they got my name wrong. And if you look on the letter here, it looks like they were anticipating that a lot of people would end up with the wrong name. And what they're asking people to do is actually write to them with the U.S. Postal Service to get it corrected. How many people are going to do that over a $15 check? I don't think too many. So what I did is I went out to Reddit just to see if I was the only one experiencing this. And sure enough, when I posted this and people started Googling these mystery checks they were getting in the mail, I heard from a bunch of people who also saw that they had the wrong names on the checks. Now, I did try to deposit the check anyway, but my bank rejected the deposit because it's not my name on the check. So I suspect a lot of other folks are going to go through the same thing here, and I don't know how many are going to get this resolved by the deadline that they've imposed on these checks. You got to cash them quick. So how did this happen if they're getting data from Apple? Well, I dug into the documents a little bit to see exactly how this data got to them and what it took to get these checks out. According to the settlement plan here, there's a company called Epic, which apparently exists to solely just get these class action cases processed. And so what they do is they work with these law firms and get all the data and send out the checks and manage the money. And they had 4.5 million unique replacement device serial numbers in the data. And Epic, they say, analyzed the data, and this is where it happened, rolled up records with the same name and contact information so that each identified member of the class had a single record with all of their devices listed. And I suspect somewhere in their algorithm, they got some names mixed up, or maybe some names that were similar got mixed up, or maybe they were looking at how some short names might be made longer in an effort to try to match things up better. And again, this data goes back for a number of years as well. And at the end of the day, they ended up with 3.3 million, almost 3.4 million records of the identified members of the class. Now, they did say that they emailed over 3 million of them and then sent postcards to people that didn't have an email address. And they said also 126,000 did not contain any valid contact information and couldn't be sent a notice. And they also provided detail on these emails that went out. Again, I did not get one, and I did not get a postcard either. I went through all of my email to check. It's possible it went into spam. But they claim after sending out 3 million of these emails that they took an effort to make sure that they wouldn't be listed as bulk spam or junk email blasts, but certainly that wasn't the case. And then as we go down a little bit further, they claim that only 142,000 of these emails were not deliverable. Now, through the court filing here, the company Epic that was doing all this work claims that they reached 94% of the identified class. But this is not an accurate statement. They have no way of knowing how many people actually got the email and how many of those emails actually ended up in spam or never delivered. I certainly didn't get one, and I would imagine there's far more than 6% that had no idea this lawsuit was going on until these checks showed up in their mailbox. And the worst part about this is that when you are part of this class and you don't opt out, you're giving up any legal right to sue Apple over this issue in the future. And I don't think an email is an effective way to notify people because it is just not getting the reach that a piece of direct mail would, and that you could at least confidently know that it was delivered to somebody's mailbox. It's not the same here with email that just gets dropped into a spam bucket. Now, I did pull up a copy of the notice that I would have received had it gotten to me. And what's interesting is that there is not one set of instructions on this for how to deal with an incorrect name in the lawsuit here. It wasn't until the check showed up that those instructions were given, and people have a very narrow window in which to get the name corrected, and they have to do that correction in the least convenient way, which is writing out a letter, putting a stamp on it, and putting it in the mail, as opposed to something more efficient like an email form. If they're going to email you instructions about the lawsuit, they may as well take corrections via email or a web form as well if they're trying to save money here. And ultimately, this is all about the lawyers and the claims administrators and all the other people making money here, except for us who get the crumbs of a major lawsuit here. Now, I did reach out to the court, to the lawyer, and to Epic, the claim administrator, about what went wrong here. I did hear back from the court and the law firm. Both of them said I have to contact the claim administrator, basically pointing the finger at them, and they have not gotten back to me. It seems to me that not a lot of effort was put in making sure that this data was correct. It seems like they were really just about getting 3.5 million notices out and getting these checks out and see where everything lands after the fact. The money doesn't automatically, though, go to the lawyers after this is done, but I'm not sure what's going to happen to the money. In prior cases, apparently, the money gets donated or gets put into some other fund somewhere, but the lawyers could ask for it too. Who knows? So we'll have to keep an eye on this after the deadline passes for check deposits and see how much money is left over. I suspect there's going to be a lot of money left over because either people are getting checks with the wrong name on it and not correcting, or they think it's a scam and not depositing it at all. So stay tuned. We'll have to see what happens with this next. My advice, though, would be that when you get one of these class action notices in the mail, opt out. You never get a lot of money out of them, and you're giving up a lot of rights in the process. I'm concerned that these law firms and claims administrators are not making a big enough effort to notify those in the class that they're in it. Because in this instance, I was in the class and never knew, and now I have no rights against Apple if they give me a shoddy phone on an Apple Care replacement. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Chris Allegretta, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Logic KGR, Tom Albrecht, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.